I want to share with you a little bit from the hidden history of Big Brother in America in just a second. Just a couple of headlines, though, of at the top of the hour here of what's going on in the world. The Don't Say Gay bill has passed the Florida Senate. It passed the House last week. It is now on its way to Governor DeSantis' desk for his signature. I'm wondering where Disney stands on this. You know, Disney is one of the major contributors to the coffers of the state of Florida. And Disney has traditionally been, you know, not allies, probably way too strong a word, but, you know, for the LGBTQ community. But I just don't know. And I know that there's a lot of speculation online. You know, is Disney going to draw a line in the sand here on this? But if they didn't, if they were going to, why didn't they do it before now? Number one. Number two, the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill passed the Senate unanimously. This is astonishing. Well, it's not astonishing. It's like, you know, finally. But, you know, we've been trying to outlaw, progressives in the United States have been trying to outlaw lynching for over 100 years. Since the end of the Civil War, they have been trying to outlaw lynching, make it a hate crime, and finally it got done. And I think, you know, frankly, the Republicans just got shamed into saying, okay, you can't lynch people. And finally, the breaking news, Guy Reffitt, he is the guy, I think he's from Southern California or Texas. Anyway, he traveled to the Capitol building with his AR-15s and all kinds of weapons and you know, was seen just pummeling police officers. He was, you know, one of the Energizer bunnies of the assault on the Capitol. This is the first major trial. The jury, it went to the jury this morning. They deliberated for an hour or so. They took a break for lunch. They came back, and very quickly they came back and said guilty. So the sentence has not been delivered yet. That will probably happen well, either today or over the next couple of days. I don't know if they're going to do sentencing, you know, statements and all that kind of stuff or not. But we'll keep an eye on that. So that's what's going on. So my new book, The Hidden History of Big Brother in America. I start out the book talking about the fact that there have been times in this country when we had Big Brother kinds of governmental regimes. Now, I break the book basically into two parts, Big Brother in government and Big Brother in corporate world, where we had government that was not democratic and that was Orwellian, that was insisting on knowing not just what people said, but what they were thinking, what their opinions were. I used John Greenleaf Whittier's poem, the Women Who Came from Dover, or The Day They Brought the Women from Dover. I forget the title of it, something like that, which is the story of these three women who had defied the local pastor, the local Protestant minister. They were Quakers. And, you know, they wouldn't go to church. Going to church was mandatory. Talk about Big Brother, right? And so he ordered them tied, this is in the dead of winter with 4 feet of snow on the ground. He ordered them tied to the back of a cart and stripped naked to the waist and whipped. And then not only in that one town where it happened in Dover, but then the cart dragged them for the rest of the day from town to town through the snow as they were being whipped. Now, we don't have that kind of Big Brother in America right now, but we once did. The other one, and I've referenced this before on this program because I learned, you know, when I did a really deep dive into the history of the South, of the Confederacy, there's probably 3 chapters about this in the hidden history of American oligarchy. What I learned that I never learned in school, and I don't think most Americans realize, is that democracy died in the American South in the 1830s. By 1840, the American South was literally no longer a democracy. They still held elections, but the ballot boxes were routinely stuffed. The outcome of the elections were routinely ignored. Only a small number of people were allowed to vote. There were laws against debtors voting. Basically, you know, if you were a plantation owner, you could vote. And the South had come under the control of about 1,000 families who controlled all of these southern states, these massive plantation owners. And they're the ones, their family members ran for political office. They're the ones who were the governors and the senators and whatnot. And it was no longer a democracy. The South had become a full-blown oligarchy. And anybody who promoted democracy in the South could expect to be imprisoned or even executed in the years, in the 2 decades running up to the American Civil War. So the Civil War was really not a democracy in the South that wanted to keep slaves versus a democracy in the North that didn't want slaves. It was an oligarchy in the South. We had completely failed as a democracy, or they had, the South had, against an actual democracy in the North. And the democracy beat the oligarchy, which is pretty amazing. And in the book, I have a fairly long quote from Frederick Douglass where he talks about realizing, as the man who owned him, in scare quotes, well, actually it was real at the time, the man who owned him, this man's wife taught Frederick Douglass how to read so that he could read the Bible. She was going to make a good Christian out of this heathen young man. And then the slave owner came in and started, ranting at his wife about how if you let these people learn to read, they're not fit to be slaves anymore. And young Frederick, he was literally 7 years old at the time, and young Frederick Douglass writes in his first autobiography that was when the light bulb went on. I mean, this is before light bulbs, but you get the metaphor. That was when he realized that the key to freedom, keep in mind, this is a man who became one of America's greatest orators and, most extraordinary and prescient thinkers and greatest writers. That was when the light went off for him, that he had to learn how to read. And he really learned how to read, this guy. So, but the bottom line, we've had Big Brother in the United States before. We've had an experience with Big Brother. We had it with the religious right up in Massachusetts and New Hampshire in the 16 and 1700s. And in fact, it almost caused Massachusetts not to join the United States when when the Articles of Confederation were being proposed, and then ultimately the Constitution. There was because the preachers didn't want it. But then I also get into how corporate America is playing Big Brother on you and what they know about you. For example, I mean, this was research that was done about information that Facebook was compiling. Just based on clicking the like button and nothing else, just the like button, they could predict with 95% accuracy your ethnicity, 93% accuracy your gender, 88% accuracy your sexual orientation, 85% accuracy your political views, 82% accuracy your religion, 73% accuracy your nicotine usage, 70% your alcohol usage, 67% accuracy your relationship status, 65% your drug usage, and 60% accuracy they could predict whether your parents were divorced. By the way that you type when you're online. Yes, they are monitoring every single keystroke, but they're also monitoring the space between the keystrokes. By monitoring, this is called recognizing emotions from the rhythm of keyboard typing patterns. With 83% accuracy, they were able to predict your level of self-confidence. With 82% accuracy, your hesitance. With 83% accuracy, your nervousness. 77% accuracy, your relaxation. 88% your sadness. 84% accuracy, whether you are tired or not. There are literally thousands of data points they have on people. Magazine catalog subscriptions, media channels used, preferred music genres, whether you're affluent or not, whether you drink wine or not, whether you're a credit card user, your credit worthiness, your net worth indicator, whether you follow the NBA, whether you have licenses or registrations in individual states, hunting licenses, fishing licenses, whether you're a multilingual household, where you're employed, who you're employed by, what you do, whether you're a single parent with children or not, whether you've ever had bankruptcies or criminal offenses. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Over-the-counter drug purchase, geriatric supplies, use of corrective lenses, allergy sufferer, do you have an individual health plan? And they use this information and they sell this information, and the companies that buy it use this information to decide whether they're going to rent to you, whether they're going to give you a credit card, whether you're going to have to sit on hold for an hour or 5 minutes when you call, to complain about a product or service or get help, whether it's an airline or a bank or the store down the street. One of the big retail chains in America, until they were busted for it, was using facial recognition, where they would recognize you as you walk in, put your name into one of these databases, come out with 10 or 15,000 data points about you, And that would inform them as to whether they needed to follow you around the store, whether they needed to help you, whether they need to encourage you, whether they need to keep you out of the store, whether they need to refuse to allow you to return goods. I mean, it just goes on and on from there. Also in the book, there are extensive chapters about how Russia took down Ukraine in 2015 and 2017 in kind of retaliation for Ukraine's resistance with regard to Crimea. Just bricked computers across the country, shut down gas stations, shut down banks, and how Iran tried to hack a dam here in Oregon that would have killed thousands of people. They got the wrong dam. They got this little dam in New York State instead, which just dammed a creek, and it was offline for maintenance when they tried to take it down. Donald Trump, when all this stuff happened, Obama was president, and he created an Office of Cybersecurity within the White House. They operate out of the old Eisenhower office building, which is right next door to the White House. Had a staff of 20, had a director. He reported directly to the president. Donald Trump came in. Russia had been hacking the DNC on behalf of Trump. Russia was hacking our government agencies. So what did Donald Trump do? He shut down the agency. He fired Mr. Daniel, the head of the agency, and laid off all the people. And for 4 years, we had no cyber defense for all practical purposes. Chris Krebs, the remaining Pentagon-affiliated cyber defense guy, Trump fired him in his last months in office. And what we learned was during the last 2 years of the Trump presidency, when we had basically no defense in our government offices against Russian hacking, that the Russians actually got inside the Treasury Department, actually got inside the computers of the Commerce Department. We don't know yet how far inside the Defense Department they got, and we're not sure that we've evicted them yet. Joe Biden is trying to rebuild our defenses, but Donald Trump just ripped it open and said to Putin, hey, here you go, come into the American government and take over our computers.